What do you think? Many have made comparisons of today's Socialist Democrat Party in America to the German Workers' Party of Nazi Germany. But is this an accurate comparison? One has to admit actions such as Hitler's taking over the auto industry and the banking industry and many other institutions are eerily similar to modern-day realities of Obama's actions of controlling these mass industries through so-called bailouts. And not only are the Democrats' actions similar to Nazi Germany, but the propaganda technique of this current administration seems to be blatantly knocking off their entire propaganda playbook. Listen to these quotes. They come from Hitler's propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels. You be the judge. Remember, these quotes came from Germany in 1933. Quote, "The most brilliant propagandist technique will yield no success unless one fundamental principle is borne in mind constantly. It must confine itself to a few points and then repeat them over and over." In Obama's "Pass This Bill" speech, this exact technique was used most recently. And don't forget this Goebbels quote, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state." Did you hear the quote? The lie can be maintained only for such time. Many believe that it is for this very reason that Obamacare is delayed until after the 2012 elections, maintaining the lie. Here are a couple more Goebbels quotes. Do they remind you of anything you have seen recently? Quote, "Think of the press as a great keyboard on which the government can play." Or, quote, "Who can conquer the street will one day conquer the state. For every form of power politics and any dictatorship-run state has its roots in the street." Does this sound anything like the Occupy Wall Street movement philosophy? In a 1932 article from Der Angriff, Goebbels openly favored a Nazi dictatorship. He presented it in a way that made the Nazi Party and Hitler appear to be the ideal agents of such rule. The article is dated September the 1st, 1932. The article is titled "Advice for a Dictator and for Those Who Want to Become One" by Joseph Goebbels. Listen to just a few of the 20 points that Goebbels raises in the article. Again, ask yourself, do these points remind you of the Obama regime philosophies and activities? A dictator's first task is to make what he wants popular, bringing the will of the nation in tune with his own will. Only then will the broad masses support him in the long run and join his ranks. You see, many believe that this is exactly how Obama got his Obamacare passed and why he continues to engage in open and shameless class warfare. He is gathering unto himself those broad masses who will support him in the long run. Goebbels goes on to say, a dictator's highest duty is social justice. If people sense that the dictator only represents a thin upper class that has nothing to do with them, they will see the dictator as a hateful enemy and quickly overthrow him. Obama continually uses the phrase social justice as he unleashes incessantly upon those evil millionaires and billionaires. This point is one of Obama's main playbook marching points. But there's more. Goebbels says a dictator does not need to follow the will of the majority. He must, however, have the ability to use the will of the people. Might I add here, Obama has learned that dictatorships do not need to follow the Constitution or the law either, which used to be the expressed will of the majority in the United States. No, Obama has learned that he only needs to use the will of the people as he continually attempts to shape that will. Goebbels says, dictatorships must be able to survive on their own spiritual reserves. It will not work if what is good in their ideas come from their opponents, and what does not come from their opponents is bad. And of course, this is par for the course, standing operating procedures for the Obama regime. Rather than any attempt at bipartisanship, every day is a continual barrage of accusations against Congress or Bush or Wall Street or American corporations, various and individual states, the Constitution itself, and even the American people as a whole, especially the middle and working class of America. One more of Goebbels' concepts that is steadfastly employed by the Obama regime. Goebbels says, quote, "Nothing is more foreign to dictatorial thinking than the bourgeois concept of objectivity. A dictatorship is by its very nature subjective. It takes sides by its nature. Since it is for one thing, it must be against another thing. If it does not do the latter, it runs the risk of having people doubt its honesty about the first." So we ask the question again. When we make comparisons to today's socialist Democrat Party in America and the current regime that runs that party and the White House, do you see any comparison to the German Workers' Party of Nazi Germany of the 1930s? The comparisons are striking. The comparisons are startling. But the comparisons are real. Can America stand another 4 years or more of this? In November 2012, it will be the time for you to be the judge. Perhaps for one last time.